take on the West Virginia Mountaineers in Morgantown.
Troy, only 3 head coaches of Mizzou have won their debuts.
This is Tailgaters.
Welcome everyone in, and thank you for tuning in to the new season of Tailgaters, where we take you around the world in the name of sport. I'm Cameron Redler, hoping to have a debut like Carson Wentz.
And I'm Trey D'Souza, hoping to not have a debut like the LA Rams. Coming up on the show, we will be breaking down week 1 of the NFL and give our thoughts about the college football playoff.
But first, we haven't been on air for about 4 months, so we have a lot to catch up on. Let's take a look. Here's what happened while we were on summer break. In the Stanley Cup playoffs, it would come down to the Pittsburgh Penguins and San Jose Sharks, and it would be the Pittsburgh Penguins who would pull it out in 6 games, closing it out with a score of 3-1 to win their 4th Stanley Cup title in franchise history. And Sid the Kid got his 2nd title. We now transition to the NBA, where the Cavaliers and Warriors had a rematch in the NBA Finals. The Cavaliers, down 3-1, would come all the way back, and in the 7th game, Kyrie Irving would hit that clutch jumper to give the Cavaliers the win. LeBron James finally completes his promise to Cleveland and gets them their first championship in over 50 years. LeBron would take home the Finals MVP trophy after averaging a near triple-double. But the best part of the Finals may not have even been the games, but instead the celebrations. No shirts necessary for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Then came the Rio Olympic Games, which were still played despite the many challenges that faced the city, such as the Zika virus and the lack of funding for public servants. It was American gymnast Simone Biles who stole the show, winning 4 gold medals and later being chosen by her Olympic teammates to be the flag bearer for the closing ceremonies. Another star was born in the form of Katie Ledecky, 19-year-old swimmer out of Stanford. Ledecky would leave Rio with 4 golds, a silver, and 2 world records, and in one of which, the 400-meter freestyle, she broke her own record to attain it. Jamaican sprinter Usain Bolt also participated in what he called the final Olympics of his career, and the fastest man on the planet didn't disappoint, winning a gold in all 3 events he raced in, finishing his illustrious career with 9 gold medals. He would later pay tribute to King James by sharing his patented celebration.
200 meters.
Back to the pool now, where the most decorated Olympian of all time, Michael Phelps, would conclude his career with 5 more golds and a silver, putting his career total at 28, the most ever by an Olympian. However, the Olympian that most people will remember from these games is Ryan Lochte. Lochte originally claimed to have been robbed at gunpoint before later admitting that he fabricated the story. He now faces a 10-month suspension from USA Swimming. And that brings us to present day.
A lot of excitement over the summer. My favorite part was the NBA Finals for sure. Arguably the greatest series ever. That shot by Kyrie was straight up icy.
Yeah, no doubt, Troy. And the comeback too, down 3-1, just absolutely historical. Also, coming back against Golden State, a team that many people consider the greatest team ever, bring the championship to Cleveland for the first time in 50 years. Just unreal.
Yeah, what a great story. And even how, like you said, the Warriors, they blew that 3-1 lead after coming back from one just a series earlier against the Thunder. And, you know, they just couldn't get it done. Like you said, arguably one of the most decorated teams, one of the best teams in history. And I don't know, somehow they came up short.
I'll tell you how they came up short. The Draymond Green suspension and the Andrew Bogut injury. Troy, I hate to burst your bubble and Cleveland fans' bubbles, but they were not the better team. And I guarantee you, if they were to play again 10 out of 10 times, full strength, I bet Golden State wins that game.
You know, we'll probably find out about that this coming year, as many people anticipate another finals rematch between those two. But a lot more going on in the offseason, too.
Yeah, this wasn't mentioned in the video, but NBA free agency also dominated headlines for a portion of the break. A lot of familiar faces found new teams and cities. Let's take a look. So at first you see Kevin Durant. He was the biggest fish of them all, going from Oklahoma City to Golden State Warriors, the team that beat him. We can talk about that in just a moment. Dwayne Wade leaving Miami after where he spent his whole career. Go home to Chicago, absolutely. You have Dwight Howard, the Houston center, the all-star, the all-pro, going to Atlanta. And we have Al Horford leaving Atlanta to go to Boston, joining that young core, giving maybe some veteran experience. And Rajon Rondo going from Sacramento to Chicago, joining now Jimmy Butler and Dwayne Wade.
Yeah, they're going to struggle from three-point and from shooting with that kind of group. Like, a lot of big names over there with Rondo, Wade, Jimmy Buckets, but it's going to be interesting to see how they space that floor.
I think it'll be a fun team to watch.
Definitely.
I mean, it's a lot of weird pieces. We'll see if Fred Hoiberg can kind of puzzle it together and make something out of it. I think they're definitely a playoff team.
Yeah.
I don't know how far they'll make it, but an interesting team to watch. And Troy, we wanted to get back to Kevin Durant going to Golden State. A lot of mixed opinions about that move. Some people comparing it to LeBron James, some saying it was worse, some saying not as bad. What are your thoughts?
You know, I just don't like it. I understand his reasoning because obviously it's a basketball decision. Money-wise, he could have done better, but he's still cashing out. I just, you know,
I don't think he needs the money with
he
the
doesn't.
Nike contract.
That's true.
That's
true. He's getting paid. That's not the issue. But it's a basketball decision, so I understand that.
Getting cheddar like KD.
I don't like it, but I understand it. Just in Game 6 he kind of choked that game away for the Thunder, and that was on him. He had plenty of opportunity to put the series away, couldn't get it done, and then he goes and joins the team that beat him. So
how do you feel about the LeBron comparison going from Cleveland to Miami the first time?
You know, the only thing I don't like about that is that LeBron had a team of scrubs. I could name maybe one or two other players on that team before. Granted, obviously, LeBron didn't single-handedly bring him to, I think it was 66, 65 wins. But, you know, KD, they had the pieces there. They had a great front court. They had Russell Westbrook. They had the pieces. They could definitely have made another run next year. But
so do you think it was like worse? Do you think it was?
I think it was worse. I think with LeBron's method of doing it was probably worse, the whole big decision, but I don't like the move nearly as much.
Yeah, you see, I'm on the other side. I really don't see much difference here. Yeah, LeBron left a team of scrubs, but he went to a team filled with Hall of Famers, Hall of Fame coach, 2 Hall of Fame sidekicks. He left the team where he couldn't get it done for the team where he was going to get it done. I see the same parallels with Kevin Durant. I don't necessarily fault him for it. Yeah, it was a tough way to go down. But you got to remember, too, LeBron got his team to a final, and he also couldn't get it done. So he had his fair share of heartbreak as well. So I mean, the people who I think criticize Kevin, I think it's a little bit unfair and premature. And who knows? Maybe 5 years from now, he'll have his couple titles, and he'll go back and win something with Russ. Maybe
he'll leave again after this year. We don't know. We don't know what's to come.
Technically, he could.
He could. He's got the 1-and-1 option.
We'll see how that works out with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson as well, Draymond Green. It's going to be an exciting team to watch, no doubt, at least for this year.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. I love having the idea of like a villain team. You know, we had the LeBron Heat, now the Kevin Durant, Steph Curry Warriors. It's an interesting story. But also the Americans dominated the medal count in Rio. So last but not least, what an event that was over the summer. That was no surprise, though. You know, they were followed by Great Britain and China. You can see the standings up there in the final medal count. What are your overall reactions and thoughts how the Olympics shaped up?
Yeah, you know, for all of the bad hype coming into the event, you saw the green water, you saw the law enforcement go on strike. We know about the crime rate, Zika. Even Americans were open about staying away from Olympic Village, and some of them got booed for it, like Hope Solo. I think it went about as well as it could have. I think the Ryan Lochte story really was a bad cloud over it. But I think aside from that, the Americans dominated as they should have. There was a lot of cool storylines to come from it. It dominated the ratings. Again, the Ryan Lochte thing's bad. The German coach passed away. That was very sad from the rowing team. But I think it went about as well as it could have gone. Yeah,
I definitely agree. But what I do agree with especially is that there's a lot that took away from the story. Like you said, there's the potentially the contaminated water and the Zika virus and Ryan Lochte's fabricated story and just a lot of it that took away from the Olympics. And I didn't like that as much about it, but like you said, I think it went as best as it could have. And obviously, again, in my opinion, not really surprised seeing how the U.S. just went out and dominated on all fronts.
Yeah, now I want to know your opinion on a popular debate that arose. It was the last Olympics for Usain Bolt and Michael Phelps, at least so they say.
Yeah.
The 2 most decorated athletes in their sport, the fastest man ever, the fastest swimmer ever. And a lot of people debated who is the better Olympic athlete. Do you have a thought on the matter?
It's hard to compare, but I think I'm on Team Phelps. He's just has his utter sheer dominance in every single event that he's partaken in, every single Olympics he's been in. It's just unmatched. And I know Usain Bolt, he had 3 goals again this year, and he won those same 3 events, including this year, the past 3. So obviously he's also on a crazy level of dominance.
Never won a silver medal, only gold his entire career.
That's true. But Michael Phelps, the medal count doesn't lie, but also it's a little easier for swimmers, seeing as how they have a lot more options. But It's hard to compare the two, but they're definitely the most decorated in their sports.
Well, I'll make a counter argument to that. You say more options for medals, and yeah, that may be true, but they're not the same events. They're still different strokes.
That's true.
Usain Bolt has one skill. It's running fast. 100 meters, 200 meters, not that big a difference. Swimming, you have breaststrokes, backstrokes, freestyles, relays, everything.
I'm no expert. You know, in my days when I was a little swordfish in the swimming classes, I could not do like a butterfly stroke. So like, all credit to Michael Phelps for being able to do that in record time. I can't do it. That's impressive.
I want to hear your thoughts on this too. Ryan Lochte, my big question is why? Why make up the story about getting robbed?
I wish I could give you a good answer, Cam. I really wish I knew. I wish I could get inside his head. It's just, it was boneheaded. It was stupid. He's a dingus. I don't know what else to say about it.
Dingus, I think, is the accurate
word. That's the only word you could use to describe it.
I think it was a good adjective for his VH1 show, dingus. Or if you could classify a show as dingus, I think you could rate it dingus.
I would. Almost definitely would.
You know, actually in 2005, people don't really know this too, he also got charged and arrested for public urination.
I didn't know that.
The man, I think, it's fair to say, certifiable dingus.
Yes, I would give him the certificate right now. That's what he is. But let's not take away from some of the, you know, obviously Usain Bolt, we talked about Michael Phelps. He got 5 more golds, another silver, bring his total up to 28, 23 gold. Like,
greatest Olympian of all time.
It's just unmatched. And Simone Biles obviously making a huge name for herself. She won 4 golds for herself and a bronze medal. And she, like you said, she ended up getting to carry the flag at the end for the U.S.
Such a cool moment. Well, that's going to do it for our first segment, but when we come back, we'll break down the first week of the NFL.
Growing up a Minnesota sports fan has always had its fair share of challenges. Just doesn't really help when Tom reminds me of them all the time.
Hey, Carl, come in here, man.
Hey, Tom, what's up?
Bro, check this out.
McDermott is the snapper.
Isn't that crazy, man? Bro, where are you going? Carl, come back.
Wow.
This is Michael Shear from SEC Media Days, telling all Mizzou students check out MUTV for all the best movies in Columbia.
There it is. Thanks, man.
Promo right there.
Troy, week 1 in the NFL kicked off this weekend, and here were some of the unbelievable games. We start Vikings and Titans. Linebacker Eric Hendricks picks off this third quarter pass from Marcus Mariota, takes it to the house. Vikings would not relinquish their lead. They'd win it 25-16.
Up next, Carson Wentz getting his first career touchdown pass here to Jordan Matthews. What a dime. Wentz would go on to finish with 278 yards and 2 touchdowns. Take a look at this pass again, right on the money.
We then go to a Super Bowl rematch. Thursday night, Broncos and Panthers. Kelvin Benjamin with the reception touchdown off the laser from Cam. Missed all last season with the torn ACL. Good to see. Then C.J. Anderson will take the screen 25 yards to the house. And the Broncos would win their Super Bowl rematch in the Trevor Siemian debut.
Next, we got Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, and he makes quite possibly the greatest throw I've ever seen. And that just speaks for itself. Going down from the sack and to Devontae Adams for the score. This up-and-coming Jags team kept it close. It was not enough for Aaron Rodgers.
We then go to Atlanta, where the Buccaneers were there in a conference match. Charles Sims takes this dump off 23 yards for the score. Just makes the Atlanta defense look stupid, Troy. Horrible show of tackling. Then Jameis throws this 45-yard pass on the dime to Mike Evans. Unbelievable catch, too. The Bucs will go to Atlanta and get a valuable conference win on the road.
Up next, Victor Cruz is back. He gets a touchdown as he's coming back from back surgery. Gives him, the salsa dance. Give the Giants the late lead. Terrence Williams, on the other hand, for the Cowboys, not the same success. Big moment here. He forgets to get out of bounds, and the clock just runs out. They're out of timeouts. There's nothing much they can do. Dak loses in his debut. Dez only 7 yards, but Zeke does get a touchdown for the Cowboys. But again, just an unfortunate way to go down. They didn't have enough time. Unfortunate mistake.
We now go to might be the game of the week, Chiefs and Chargers. The Chiefs are down 24-3, but this Spencer Ware 5-yard touchdown with a minute left ties the game. We would go to overtime, and in the first drive, Alex Smith will take this carry 2 yards to the house, wins the game, completes the greatest comeback in team history. Here's a clip of Smith screaming things that if your kids are watching, you should probably cover their eyes. Don't read the lips, folks. But maybe the biggest win in Chiefs history.
Absolutely, and now we have the Raiders and the Saints, 2 of the best offenses in the league. Here's Drew Brees with a 98-yard pass to Brandon Cooks, longest pass in franchise history. Gives them a two-touchdown lead. But then Jalen Richard with a 75-yard run cuts the lead. Just going all the way. Hey, diddle, Richard up the middle. Both teams would score again with under a minute left. And then Oakland went for 2, and Crabtree makes the reception to win on the road. Gutsy call there by Jack Del Rio. And what a snag by Crabtree. Take a look again. Phenomenal play. Very gutsy, but it did pay off.
We now go to the Sunday night game. Maybe a Super Bowl matchup. Cardinals-Patriots down 6 in the 4th. Fitzgerald, the man, the legend, coming up clutch. An unreal catch over the shoulder. You can see he bobbles it, but it does not matter. He reels it in. Try to remember if you remember. I don't know if you remember the This Is Sports Center commercial where he catches everything, but that's just what he does.
That's just what he does.
The Patriots would counter, though, in typical Patriot form, take it down. And Gostkowski, clutch as ever, clutch as they come. Drills a 32-yarder with under 42 left to take the lead. On the flip side, Arizona would drive, and Chandler Catanzaro misses from 47. You can see they have trouble with the snap. Typical Patriot win. Let the other team make the mistakes. And they go into Arizona, no Gronk, no Brady, and they still get it done.
Yeah, just a ton of really close games all around. You saw some of them settled by 1 or 2 scores even. Some interesting things to take away from week 1, Cam. So let's take a look. Here's what Cam and I learned after this first week in the NFL.
So yeah, Troy, you say kickers matter. Larry Fitzgerald is the man. Things I learned, Patriots are the team to beat, and LA can have the Rams. Let's divulge into this a little bit further. So Troy, you actually think kickers can make a difference? You think they matter?
Absolutely. Take a look at this first week. 4 games decided by field goals, missed or not. Mike Nugent with the game-winning field goal against the Jets. Chandler Catanzaro missed the game-winning field goal against the Patriots. Along the same lines, Graham Gano missed the game-winning field goal against Broncos. And Matt Prater with the game-winning go-ahead field goal against the Colts. None of them were particularly easy. They weren't chip shots, but they're definitely makeable for a starting NFL kicker. So obviously, it's only week 1, so nothing too much to worry about, but definitely kind of an area of concern. You know, you want your kickers to make those shots. It's an easy way to start the season 1-0. And, you know, Cam, speaking of the Patriots, and you talked about Catanzaro missing that for the win, could have spoiled the Patriots' fun. You think they're the best team out there?
Yeah, I don't think there's any more doubt about that. This is easily the most impressive performance on the weekend. They go to Arizona, fully healthy, a team many think are going to compete for the NFC, probably one of the 3 best teams in the NFC. In their house without Brady and Gronk, their 2 best players. Their O-line was shaken up, and they still pull it out with Jimmy Garoppolo as their starting quarterback and Martellus Bennett as their tight end. Unbelievable performance. Unbelievable. Clearly the team to beat. It does. At this point, I have a newfound respect for Bill Belichick. I know he's a cheater, but whatever he's doing, it works. It really doesn't matter who they plug in there.
You know, he made Matt Castle look good once.
Yeah, he turned Matt Castle into an 11-win player. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, Jimmy G looking good now too. But you know, we'll see how they carry that out the next few games while Brady's gone.
Matt Castle shouldn't even be in the league right now, and he was an 11-win player. Oh my God.
How did that happen?
Wasn't even a starter in college. People don't even realize that.
You know.
Now, Troy, you really liked the performance of Larry Fitzgerald.
Absolutely. And, you know, just that same day, I believe, there was a rumor that 2016 was going to be his final season, which was kind of confusing because he just signed an extension prior to the season. But I think he's here to stay for a few snaps, a few years even, because he put the team on his back. He had 8 catches for 81 yards, 2 touchdowns on the game, and especially on that final drive where Carson Palmer worked to get them in field goal range. He had 3 catches for 46 yards on that final drive, and that was what got them into field goal range. But unfortunately, Catanzaro couldn't get it done. Adam Schefter later reported that Larry Legend has no plans to retire after this year, which makes more sense.
You know, after having 80 yards, 2 touchdowns, both games highs against one of the best teams in the league, I think I could play a little bit longer.
I think he's got a little bit left in the tank, just a little bit now. He's got plenty. And lastly, Cam, you know, St. Louis native yourself.
Native.
What are your thoughts on the new LA Rams? How does that sound?
Oh my gosh, LA can have them. Such garbage, Troy. Easily the biggest dud of the weekend. 0 points. I knew they were bad. Well, I have a friend from LA, Troy, and I was telling him, man, I said, look, I'll give you half a season before you're ready to give up on this team. It took literally a half. This is unbelievable, man.
Yeah.
Just horrible showing. They have no quarterback. They traded away all their first-round picks. They don't have a secondary. They have Todd Gurley and basically Aaron Donald and basically a bunch of scrubs. It is 2 versus basically 22 out there.
It's just kind of unfortunate. They got manhandled by the 49ers, who are not a particularly great
team.
team.
Oh my gosh, they might be the one. I thought going into the season they might be the one team worse than the Rams.
Yeah.
Them and the Browns maybe, but oh my gosh.
I don't know. It looks like the Rams. I don't know if there was, like I said, if there was a 33rd place in the league, that's where the Rams would be right now. Like that's just how that's how bad it is right now.
Yeah. No bueno for the Rams. But you know what? LA can have them. You know what? I actually like this because LA, it's only going to take them about half a season. All the fans are going to stop showing up. They're going to quit.
It's bold. It's bold.
And then people will realize, hey, maybe St. Louis sports fans aren't that awful. You know?
I don't know about that. We'll see.
Best baseball fans in sports. Hockey team shows that well. You know, it's really easy to root for a winning team, Troy. I don't know if you know this, but the Rams had the worst 5-year stretch in NFL history not too long ago, where they won 15 games in 5 seasons.
Cam, you sound a little upset. You know, it gets better. I just want you to know that.
You know, I'm just bummed that I can't remember the greatest show days, but it's another story. All right,
Well,
Troy, that's all for segment 2. When we return, we're going to talk some college football.
Zombie movie, so I think he can do the whole thing.
I would pick Bernie Sanders because I know he's already trying to be president and he's basically a celebrity in my heart. So, feel the burn. I would have Oprah be our president because she helps
that is funny. That is comedy right there.
and charities, so I feel like she would help.
Have you seen MUTV?
She has a lot of money, so she
It's so good. It's got everything. I get my sports with Tailgaters, This Week in 23 Sports, or Triple Play, and I can keep up to date with movies and whatever weird music the kids are listening to, and then my wife can get all the stuff she needs, girly stuff that I don't care about on E23. Honey!
but he gets things done. So
Yeah, she's not even here, and I'm talking about, stuff that she likes. But, I don't even go to those dumb, expensive news websites. I just flip on 23 News. MUTV's got news, too. It's got everything. There's literally no need at all for me to even change the channel. He puts it in! He puts it in, Ryan! That's So, you staying for dinner? My wife's supposed to be cooking a casserole.
I believe having a reminder of the cool things to do with the fam.
It's got all this cheese and meats in it, and when you put them together, it's a party in your mouth that just, it just works. It all works together.
thanks for sticking with us here on Tailgaters. And with all this action in the NFL, let's not forget college football is in full swing now, Cam.
Absolutely, Troy. The season has been crazy already. What are your initial thoughts so far?
It's like you said, it's been crazy. There's, the rankings are changing constantly. There's 8 SEC teams in the top 25 right now, 5 Big Ten teams in the top 13. And it's, there's no clear set Final Four. We're going to look ahead to that later, but there have been some really interesting games so far.
Yeah, a lot of good games. A lot of small, mid-level schools almost
Yeah.
pulling off the upsets against these big, major programs.
Yeah.
Look at Appalachian State.
Definitely.
Literally extra points away from beating Tennessee. We saw Nichols almost pull it off against Georgia this
2
week.
points down from Georgia. They dropped 9 in the rankings for that.
You mentioned SEC, 8 ranked teams.
Yeah.
That was a big story after week 1.
Yeah.
People were hating on the SEC. Arguably the worst opening week in the conference history.
Probably.
They had 6 losses, I believe, and they come back week 2 and dominate. Every single team that played out of conference
Yeah.
won their game. The SEC, as it stands now, has 4 teams that have won out of conference ranked matchups. No other conference has more than one. They definitely look like have reestablished their dominance as the primary conference in college football.
That's what it's looking like so far. But again, those teams that they beat that were ranked, not ranked anymore. So kind of showing how the teams are fluctuating.
You mentioned the Big Ten as well, though. Really top heavy. You look at Michigan, you look at Ohio State. 2 teams that are legitimate contenders for the final college football playoff. We'll talk about that in a minute as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's never too early for the Heisman watch, Cam. And so what names have stood out to you so far this year, or coming into this year before? What are your thoughts on that?
So there's a very wide pool, I think, this year of guys who are deserving to win it and could win it. I think you look at some of the returners from last year, Christian McCaffrey. I think he's going to have an unbelievable year. He's already off to a great start. And you look at Leonard Fournette, probably the best running back in football. Not as versatile as Christian McCaffrey. Doesn't return the kicks like he does, but just a dominant runner. So I look at those 2. You look at maybe Nick Chubb coming back off of injury. People forget he was a Heisman front runner before his injury. He already looks like in tip-top shape. I think it's interesting, though, this year you're looking at mostly running backs and not so much quarterbacks this year. Yeah,
not really. I mean, I do have, in my thoughts, I had J.T. Barrett also in kind of consideration. Ohio State, obviously, off to a very good start. Haven't really come across a solid challenge yet, but his story has been great. He was a backup for the first 7 games last season, solidified his starting role. He's 15-2 as a starter. The man wins games. But you mentioned McCaffrey and Chubb. I think those are the 2 that I was kind of highlighting. McCaffrey, last year, obviously the most all-purpose yards. He has 2K rush yards, over 600 receiving. So far, he's already got a couple of touchdowns in their first game against Kansas State. Nick Chubb, Heisman hopeful last year, cut short by injury. Really unfortunate. But in his first game back, quite a statement. Over 200 yards and 2 touchdowns in his first week. Last week against Nichols, held to under 100 yards. So not a positive showing, but obviously, there will be some games like that.
I'll give you a couple more guys to look out for. At Louisville, the quarterback Lamar Jackson, have unreal beginning of the season. 13 touchdowns in just the first half, so the first 2 games. An unreal performer, unreal start to the season. Louisville, not the toughest of schedules either.
No.
They could run the table, and if he has just crazy numbers, 5,000 yards passing, maybe at 500 rushing, he could be upwards of 1,000. I think he's very much going to be in it. You look at Deshaun Watson. We didn't even mention him because Clemson struggled out of the gate. But, of course, probably the most talented quarterback in college football. And I'll give you one more dark horse. Jabril Peppers from Michigan. Shades of Charles Woodson. Shades of Desmond Howard. A do-everything kind of guy. He plays defense at corner, linebacker. They move him all around.
Yeah, that safety turned linebacker. He's doing it all.
Yeah,
very
he returns
versatile.
Kicks. Just a do-everything guy. He'll be a first-round pick, probably a top 10 pick, if not this year, then next year.
Yeah, and of course, we have college football playoffs to look ahead to, Cam. So who do you have?
So I'll give you my top 4 right now. I'm going to go in no particular order. Texas, Ohio State, Bama, and Florida State. And with those 4, I see Ohio State, Bama, and Florida State being ahead of the pack. After you give your 4, I'll break down Texas a little bit more. But I think it's really those 3, and Texas is a distant 4th.
Yeah, I agree. Same story with me. I have 3 of the same as 3 of the same. We got Alabama, Florida State, Ohio State. In my opinion, clear top 3 teams. The 4th one obviously is tough. There's Clemson, there's Michigan, there's Texas, there's Houston. I opted to go with Michigan. Not my most certain pick, but I like what they're doing so far.
I think outside those top 3, it's really a crapshoot.
Yeah.
You don't know. And the Michigan Ohio State, that's interesting. You have them. They played against each other final week of the regular season. But if they both go in undefeated and one wins a very close game, the loser won't be playing in the Big Ten title game the next week. So maybe with some Big Ten conference contenders going down, maybe that allows Michigan to slide back in there, even with the loss, or Ohio State, whichever one. My Texas pick. Here's why I picked Texas. And I know it sounds a little bit premature. They had one big win this season. But here's my thing about Texas. The Big 12 is awful. They are so bad this year.
It's kind of rough.
It looks like Texas, Oklahoma, maybe
even
TCU.
Oklahoma's struggling a little bit too.
Oklahoma already a loss early on. Tough game against Ohio State this weekend. I think they're going to lose that.
Definitely.
Oklahoma maybe 2 losses after 3 weeks. That's crazy.
It's not looking good.
No momentum going into the Red River rivalry. Neutral site game, so Texas doesn't even catch them on the road, obviously. And their only other big test, TCU, they kid them at home. So Texas, the schedule lines up well. I don't like the Big 12. Texas could go undefeated, no conference title game in the Big 12 too, so they don't have to play Oklahoma twice. They are in the same division. Yeah. They don't have to play TCU twice. I like Texas to make it as my 4th.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. 'Cause like we said, there's no clear-cut 4th, at least in our opinions. But some of the teams we talked about jointly, we have Ohio State, Alabama, Florida State. I guess I'll start with Ohio State. JT Barrett has the job all to himself now, But with his top receivers gone now, these young guys are going to need to step it up. And in week 1, they had a school record, 776 yards, 10 offensive touchdowns. That offense is just flowing. Obviously, not too much of a big test these first couple weeks, but they have a better game coming up in Oklahoma.
And then you look at those other 2 that we had in there, the Florida State, the way they just manhandled Ole Miss in the second half, unbelievable. Just crazy. So much talent. Dalvin Cook, another Heisman contender.
Yeah, we didn't even mention him. One of the best running backs in the game.
Absolutely. A little bit of dingus at times, like that fumble on the 4-yard line, but an unreal talent. And then you look at Alabama, the way they just destroyed USC, just turned on the Jets. There was some question going in about true freshman quarterback, Jalen Hurts, but answered all the calls. They are just rolling.
Yeah, there's questions. He solidified his role as a starter, and obviously they still have that amazing 1-2 puncher receiver, Calvin Ridley and Ardarius Stewart. Yeah. They're fantastic, and they complement Jalen Hurts really well. I think they're going to be scary as always.
Absolutely.
But that'll do it for this week. You guys can head over to our website at mutv.missouri.edu and follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Be sure to also like us on Facebook to stay updated on everything here at MUTV.
Also, make sure to check out MUTV Stream for all of the latest movies.
For my partner, Cameron Redler, and everyone here in the studio, I'm Troy D'Souza. Good night.